While millions of people are lining up outside stores, watching unboxing videos, and emotionally destroying their bank accounts because a piece of glass and metal got a slightly better camera, there's a massive group of people who just don't care. And according to neuroscience, their brains might actually be wired differently. Stay with me because what I'm about to tell you will completely change how you see the tech-obsessed people in your life. Here's the thing nobody talks about. Not caring about the new iPhone doesn't make you broke. It doesn't mean you're out of touch, and it definitely doesn't mean something's wrong with you. But there is something fascinating happening in your brain that's completely different from the millions of consumers who follow Apple religiously. Let's start with the obvious question. Why do so many people care so much? Humans are tribal creatures. For thousands of years, being part of a group meant survival. Your tribe protected you, kept you alive. And brands, they're basically modern tribes with better marketing. When someone flashes that blue bubble or shows off the new Pro model, their brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Their brain literally tricks them into thinking these trillion-dollar corporations are part of their clan. But here's where it gets interesting. People who don't obsess over iPhones often have what psychologists call lower tribal instincts. Their identity isn't as strongly tied to being part of a group. They're more likely to say, I don't need a logo to feel complete. But wait, it gets weirder, because what happens in the brain of a tech fanatic during a keynote presentation is legitimately concerning. You know that feeling when you're about to open a present? That anticipation. That's dopamine firing in your brain. Tech fans get that same hit during Apple event season. It's literally addictive. The uncertainty of what's the new feature keeps the dopamine flowing. Your brain doesn't distinguish much between different sources of dopamine. It just knows it wants more. People who don't care about iPhones, their dopamine systems simply aren't triggered by consumer hype. Hit subscribe if you think you're this type. Think about that. Your complete indifference to whether you have the dynamic island or the titanium finish might literally be in your DNA. But there is another layer. Tech fans experience something called basking in reflected glory. When the brand is cool, they feel cool. People who don't obsess over iPhones are less likely to engage in this psychological distancing. They're more consistent in their self-concept. They don't need external purchases to feel successful. Their self-esteem is more stable, less dependent on things completely outside their control, like the release cycle of a smartphone. Now, before the comment section explodes, I'm not saying one way is better than the other, but let's be honest about something else. For some people, not caring about the iPhone is actually a defense mechanism. Maybe they're pushing back against the aggressive competitiveness, often tied to status symbols. Maybe they just never understood why grown adults scream at screens over a slightly faster processor. Or maybe you just find it boring. Both are valid. But here's the part that explains so much about why tech fans and non-fans sometimes can't understand each other. It comes down to how you experience meaning. Tech fans find meaning in the narrative, the innovation, the future, the magic. People who don't care about iPhones often find that marketing meaningless. They think, why would I emotionally invest in a tool that does the exact same thing as the one I already have? They're not wrong, but neither are the fans. It's just two different approaches to the human need for story and meaning. One group finds epic narrative in a product launch. The other finds it in a novel, a relationship, a creative project, or a scientific discovery. Non-tech obsessed people prefer investing emotional energy where there is actual reciprocity. So, what does all this mean? If you are the green bubble in a sea of blue, you aren't ruining the group chat. You're just immune to the social pressure that keeps everyone else in line. Your tribal instincts, your need for control, your resistance to marketing, they are just calibrated differently. The next time someone asks, why don't you just get an iPhone? And you genuinely can't justify the switch, remember, you're not broken, you're not broke. You're just playing a different game. One where you decide the rules, not a company in Cupertino. If this resonated with you, you'll likely enjoy discovering more psychological insights about yourself. Click one of these videos to find out why you think a little differently from the crowd.